Welcome back everyone. In this video we're going to make smoked pork belly in a charcoal barbecue. Alright, so we're going to start by setting our barbecue up. We're going to be using the blackjack today. We'll start by taking our cooking grate off. We'll take our charcoal baskets out. And I'm going to be using the slow and sear today, so we'll get our charcoal basket in, and then our drip tray. And then we'll fill our charcoal basket up. And we'll bury a fire lighter in one end and light it up. And then we'll fill our water pan up with hot water while we're here, which is going to help stabilise our temperatures. Alright, so we've got about 15 minutes before those briquettes are going to catch light properly, so we use that time to prepare our pork belly. Now, pretty simple, we just want to start by taking the skin off. So get yourself a nice sharp knife. I just like starting in the corner. We want to try and do it so we can leave a nice coverage of fat on top as well. Alright, so we're almost done taking the skin off here. Don't rush this process, you don't want to slip and cut yourself. And as you'll see, we're using that slow and sear in the blackjack. If you don't have one of those, you can just use the snake method if you're using a kettle style barbecue like a Weber kettle or a jumbuck, or even if you've got one of the blackjacks, or if you've got another style of barbecue, you can follow along to the cooking times and temperatures to this video and adapt it to your style of barbecue. You just want to set it up for indirect smoking, obviously. Now all I want to do here is just trim any excess fat down to sort of 2 to 4 mil thick. Pretty happy with the top there. Now I'm just going to flip it over. We'll get rid of any sort of silver skin off the bottom. There's not really too much to trim here. A little bit of excess fat there. I'm just going to face up that thin edge. And now that's ready to season. Alright, now I want some nice savoury flavours on this pork belly. We're going to be using a combination of my steak shooter, and then we'll top it off with beef bounce. So what we'll do first is give it a nice light coat in yellow mustard to help our rubs stick to the meat. And then we'll go down with a base coat of steak shooter, and then we'll top it off with beef bounce. Now if you've got another favourite pork rub or you want to make your own, absolutely go ahead and do that. Or if you want to add some sweet flavours, you can do that too. Maybe look for a pork rub with some honey powder in it. But for now, this is all nice and seasoned up. Just mop up any excess we've got on that cutting board. Now this is ready to go once our smoke is ready. Alright, now our briquettes are burning nicely. We can shut our lid. We want to make sure both our vents are open. And we'll let our barbecue preheat to just below our target temperature, which for this cook is going to be around 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius. Alright, so we're pretty much ready to get this pork belly on. Now one thing I'm going to be using is the new wireless thermometer from Inkbird. Absolutely loving this already because it shows an ambient temperature from this end of the probe, and then you'll obviously get your internal temperature from this end of the probe. So we'll get this in the pork belly, and just like any other thermometer, download the app, connect it to your phone, and you're good to go. So now that's in, let's get our pork belly on. Alright, so we'll open our lid, get our cooking grate back on, get a bit of smoking wood on. I've gone with a beautiful chunk of nectarine just for a nice subtle sweet flavour. So we'll get that straight over the top of where the charcoal's burning. Then we'll get our beautiful little pork belly on. Then we'll shut our lid and let that start smoking away. Alright, so now our pork belly's on, we don't really have to worry about too much else apart from some fire management, because I'm going to aim to leave this one unwrapped for the whole cook so we get some nice bark. So I'm just going to keep an eye on our ambient temperature to make sure we're holding around that 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius range. If it stabilises off above that temperature, I'm just going to shut our bottom vent down a little bit. If we stabilise off below that temperature, then I'm just going to open it up a little bit. So for the first hour of this cook, I'm just going to be focusing on fire management, and then we'll check on this pork belly once we're a bit further into the cook. Alright, now we're almost 2 hours into this pork belly cook. Before we have a look at that, we're going to make a quick pickled red cabbage, as we're going to be turning this pork belly into some tacos later. So we're going to start with 1 cup of apple cider vinegar and 1 cup of water. Then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar, 8 peppercorns, and a teaspoon of salt. Then we just want to bring that liquid up to a boil. And then while that's happening, we've just got a quarter red cabbage here. Just going to take that core out, and then we're going to thinly slice it. And then we're just going to stuff that into our jar we're going to use. Then once our pickling liquid's up to a boil, we'll give it a stir just to dissolve that salt and sugar. Then we'll let it cool for a few minutes. We'll get it into our jar, and this can go in the fridge for a couple of hours until we're ready to use it later on. Alright, now our pickled red cabbage is done. We're going to make a quick avocado, jalapeno and lime crema to go with our tacos. So we're going to start by getting 2 avocados. Take the seeds out and get the flesh into our food processor. Now I normally wouldn't add jalapeno, but I had one spare in the fridge, so we're just going to cut that in half, cut the top off, de-seed it and add it in. And a handful of coriander, 2 nice generous tablespoons of sour cream, the juice of 1 lime, Good pinch of salt, pepper, and then we just want to blend it up until it's nice and smooth. And then you can have a taste, adjust it to your liking, and then we'll set it aside to use later on. Alright, so before we check our pork belly, I just thought I'd show you the display on the app we use for the wireless thermometer. So as you can see, our internal is 73 Celsius, our ambient is 132 Celsius. I said we want to hold it around 135, so that's holding nicely. So let's have a look at our pork belly. Alright, so we've got some really nice colour on there. That's looking beautiful. It's not getting too dark, so I'm just going to continue to leave this unwrapped. And there's still quite a bit of moisture on top, so we're not going to bother spritzing it. So we might as well just shut our lid and let this keep going. So we're going to continue to let that pork belly smoke away until it hits an internal temperature of around 96 degrees Celsius or 205 Fahrenheit. At that point, we're going to start checking for probe tenderness. I reckon we're still another hour and a half to 2 hours away from that, so this is looking like it's going to be around a 4.5, maybe a 5-hour cook. We've made our pickled red cabbage, we've made our avocado, lime and jalapeno crema. I'm not going to make tortillas in this video. I've done that a few times recently, but I'll put a couple of recipes for flour and corn tortillas down in the description below if you want to check that out. So we'll let our pork belly keep smoking away and we'll check back in once we're ready to check for probe tenderness. All right, now we hit a little stall in our pork belly for a while there, so we're about 6 hours into this cook now. We've hit our internal temperature we want to be at, which is around 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius. This is probing really nice all over. So I reckon we can get this out. So what I like to do so I don't burn myself is I just get a cheap gardening glove from Bunnings, and then I just get a nitrile glove to put over the top, and then I don't burn my hands. So we'll take our little thermometer out. That was actually really handy how it's got the ambient temperature as well as the internal temperature. Then we'll get our beautiful pork belly out. Really nice bark and colour on there, so we'll get that onto our cutting board. And pork belly is quite forgiving, so I'm just going to let that rest for 10 minutes on the cutting board before we come back to slice and serve it. Alright, let's take a few slices off. Look at that, juicy as, and that's the end piece. Super tender. Alright, let's put one of these tacos together. Alright, so we've just got a tortilla of fried in a little bit of Wagyu beef tallow. And then we're going to go down with a base of that pickled cabbage we made earlier. And a beautiful slice of that pork belly. Some of that avocado lime crema. And then we'll top it off with some coriander. Alright, now I just want to try a piece of that pork belly on its own first. So good. Now I haven't smoked a pork belly like that in a long time. I don't know why I don't do it more, because that is amazing. Alright, now time for the taco. What a combination. You've got that sourness from the pickled cabbage, you've got that savoury hit from the pork belly, that fresh creaminess from that lime, avocado and jalapeno crema, that coriander, the tortilla. What more do you want? So the last smoked pork belly I'd done, I wrapped partway through the cook in butcher's paper, but I really liked leaving that unwrapped for the whole cook to get that really nice bark. You've definitely got to try it. Whether you wrap it or not is up to you. Smoked pork belly is an absolute winner. It's one of my favourite things to eat, and these tacos are an absolute winner as well. So if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. But for now, that's the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.